Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange, your Babinka boy, your Dobro, your leader of the Hala Hala Homies and the Cine Gang. Today, I'm all by my lonesome. The amazing aunties were not able to make it out today, but we send them our love. Mahakita. We miss y'all. We'll see them back again soon. Kataphorric and Viva Valentina. But we have another amazing one, folks. And as y'all know, I am the Babinka boy, the Adobro, the Tocino Terminator, the not the lechon ladies, because that's the amazing aunties, but I do love myself some lechon. But we have a chef today. Y'all know I love food, because that's what we as Filipinos, that's what brings us as a people together is food. I have an amazing chef coming on today who also recently stumbled into acting, voice acting in City of Ghosts, which is on Netflix right now. You should check it out. It's amazing. You'll love it. And also gives you somewhat of the history of Los Angeles. Miss Isa Fabro. Let's bring her on. Air horns. Isa Fabro. Here we go. Burr, 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 burr.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Welcome. So happy to have you on here. I just recently watched the show and oh my gosh, it's so cute. How cute is that show? And you got to play this. You're an animated character, Isa.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yes, it's very cool. It's very cool because I've been told that I am already like an animated character, and I don't mind.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, welcome. Beyond voice acting, I know you're a superstar chef. Just brush those shoulders off. You're award winning. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get into all of that. There we go. I love it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta
pop those shoulders,
girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to claim our victories, especially with right now and the pandemic and everything going on right now. You're doing it. And yeah. So before we get into your story, like we normally do, for those viewers who watch the ShoPowSho, I want to touch upon City of Ghosts, because right now I'm actually going to rush this episode because I want y'all to check out this show because we need more of it. I think it's so cute, so amazing. So off the break right now, Isa, how did you get involved with this amazing project? From stepping away from being a chef into voice acting, how'd you get in there?
I've done a lot of special projects over the years with film documentaries like Migrant Kitchen, or doing work with community service groups like SIPA, to working with the Asian Pacific American Museum. And word gets around. So I get contacted for these special events or projects. And I was approached by the producer, Joanne Shen, sent me a very nice email. And, whenever somebody contacts you, it's always important to extend the courtesy. It's always important to say, thank you. And yes, let's talk more about this, because you just never know. I had no idea that it was going to turn into this. So we had a nice phone call. I met the creator, showrunner, Elizabeth Ito. And after a very lengthy phone call, we then met in person at a coffee shop, and we spoke about everything from my experiences as a small business owner, a chef, a woman, being in the restaurant industry, to gentrification of neighborhoods. And, you talk to people and then they let me know, we would love to work with you. And then that's when they told me it's for an animated series. And I thought, what? I don't even know what this means. So that was 2018. And I did most of the production work in 2019. And it was supposed to come out last year, but it came out this year.
Okay. Awesome. So I was actually curious, due to it's 2021 now, if you recorded during the pandemic, but you did everything in 2019 before pre-pandemic.
Yes.
So how was that experience you said you did other projects? Have you had voice acting projects before? So was this different for you, stepping inside like a booth and recording your lines?
Yeah, there was so I've been on podcasts and I've been on camera for just different spots and different film stuff. But this was the first time where I was actually given a script. And the two sessions that I had, one was it was very loose. We had a script, but they also encouraged us to just say whatever we wanted. And it was me with some of the other characters, and we kind of just riff off of each other. And then the other session was in a full-on studio where I had the microphone and I was kind of like insulated, and I got to, jump around and move and be very dramatic.
I love
and
it.
just, and it's that kind of thing where, you realize that the animators also need that kind of input, because they want to see that visual. So I've got some quirks. I definitely have some things that, people are like, what's wrong with that person over there?
It makes it special.
But yeah, so they definitely put some of those things in. And Chef Joe is very much me. I couldn't be happier.
I love it. Have you ever rocked was it purple hair or blue hair?
Oh, it was a purple hair. I've had purple, green, and white hair all at the same time.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So that works. Awesome. Yeah. So the story, as you said, she sat down with you. Shout out to Elizabeth Ito, the creator. So well done. And so she sat down with you, and with you telling me that she wanted to get more of your story, and having watched this first episode, so it looks like she did take a lot of that sit down conversation with you when writing this episode. It really was amazing in what it was telling, and just the ease of this. I wish I had something like this, especially for some of my like cousins and nephews that are a little bit more awkward. Sometimes I love kind of like the very realness of it, and just it was so cute. Like I think it could really hit and go over with a lot of kids. I know it went over with me. It's so cool and cute. One question I had when I was watching it, when they went into the kitchen, it's #spoilers. I'm sorry. Please watch this episode before we get into it. But I have to ask, was Van Halen one of your favorite bands, or was that really in the script?
Oh,
are you an 80s kid?
No, I do love rock and roll. But Van Halen is definitely all Elizabeth.
Oh, really?
But we did talk about some music. Okay. I shared some thoughts on that. So, but we were of the like mind, air guitar. I did do some air guitar. Now I'm remembering that when I was doing my character, and that's just what you do. So
did you have a favorite moment with your character in the episode?
Oh, jeez. When I was first watching it, and I guess again, spoilers, when there's a scene where Chef Joe is sitting at the table and I'm saying, oh, I'm talking to my friend Marco, and she thinks that maybe it's a ghost, right? And I give a little giggle. And I think now that you're talking to me, you see that that's very much me, because I'm kind of giggly and like, like that. Yeah. So that was like, oh my gosh, that's totally me, Another favorite moment was kind of an Easter egg, but spoilers again. At the end of the episode, I'm serving a family in my restaurant, Chef Joe's, and the family that's sitting at the table is actually Elizabeth Ito, her husband, and her 2 children. Oh. So she put her family, she and herself, into the episode at the very end. And I thought, that's them. I know it's them. And it's like, and there are a lot of different Easter eggs in every episode. So
okay. Sweet. I have to now rewatch that episode again to see Miss Ito. And I haven't watched the rest of the season yet. Does Chef Joe come around? How many episodes do you know? How many episodes they put out, and how long the series is? Are we getting a season 2?
At this time, I do not know about doing a season 2. There's been a lot of great feedback. I mean, a lot, but there are 5 episodes total, and they all focus on a different neighborhood.
Okay.
And especially if you grew up in LA, you will recognize at least the areas and the neighborhoods, but you may not know the history, and you get to learn about that.
Awesome. So I guess now we could like transition into your story as well, but I still want to kind of touch upon this amazing show because I want to see more of it. It looks amazing, and we need more Chef Joe, and we need more of this LA history, man, because it's awesome. So let's start with that. We like to start from the seed, and then we grow into the amazing, beautiful flower that you are now. So tell us about your parents a little bit, and how they kind of met, and then you came into the world with their love.
Oh, wow, that's going back. Okay,
all the way back, right?
Yeah. So my parents are both born in the Philippines. They are both from Pangasinan, and when my mom was in her early 20s, she graduated from Far Eastern University, and she was stationed in Canada, where she worked for 10 years, was able to get citizenship, and then she brought my dad over. And then that's where I have one older sister, and that's where she and I were born. And then from there, we were able to be sponsored to the US, and then we moved here. So yeah, there's like, it was like a pretty long journey. I actually have some mementos of that, where I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but this is a picture of my mom.
Awesome.
Right? Yeah. And, so you can see, well, I don't know if you can see that, but that little plate says Canada. So she put that there to say, like, this is Canada.
Yeah.
And you can't see it, but in the picture on her finger, right there, she's wearing this ring.
Oh, wow.
All right. So she gave me this ring when I was younger. And as the story goes, Mom, this ring is what she bought with her first paycheck for herself. So it's a special, it's a special ring. And then one more thing is, I remember this growing up. It's very old. It's a melon scraper.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess this was my grandma's, but I don't use this to cook anymore. I don't, it's quite old, but I have it kind of on my display for different like cooking things that I have. But to think that this was something that my grandmother used to make the melon strings with the milk and the sugar for my
priceless.
Mom. And then, I grew up eating that, and, I have also eaten that and made that for other people. But this is, I don't even know how old this thing is. I don't, but it's
that's
really
priceless.
Old. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
So did they talk to you about like why they wanted to move over? I think for all of us, that are immigrants to Canada, US, better life, better job. Did they ever talk to you about that? And, as you were growing up and learning about yourself?
Not really. Oops. I think when we spoke earlier, you were mentioning how you're trying to reconnect with your culture.
Yeah.
And, I've been trying to do the same thing too.
Oh,
because growing up, I was never taught the language. I did not grow up with that kind of extended family that a lot of Filipinos that I know have here. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I am first generation, but, I have friends who are maybe 5 years younger than me, and they grew up with their aunts and uncles and their cousins. And I was one of 3 Filipino kids in high school. And it was only until much later, I remember when I was a senior in high school, looking at these kids, and they were looking at me, and I'm like, I think they're Filipino, and they were probably looking at me like, I think she's Filipino. Yeah. But, God forbid you talk to underclassmen. Because,
that whole difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's like, you're a freshman, I'm a senior. Yeah, I try to tell people, like, I only really met other Filipinos when I went to college.
Mm,
And also, I mean, it was just, I mean, I can't even tell you, when I went to the Philippines for the first time in 2016, like the last time I was there was, I was 2 years old. Like, I had never been in a place where everybody and everywhere I looked, the people looked like me. And it
yeah,
was the strangest thing where I was
yeah,
like, whoa. And then it was also extremely frustrating because, I don't speak the language.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and even the recognition of foods um, is still not the same. Is still not
Mm,
the same. So it's been quite a journey, especially the last few years of when I started cooking Filipino food. That have been um, it's been hard.
mhm.
It's been hard. It's been um, I've tried to portray the cuisine with respect um, and care, and to give the history behind it, to educate people about it. Um, and so far, um, I've been I've been happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that. I love that though. Well, I'm saddened by like, so you and I we cut from the same cloth and
yeah.
trying to learn about ourselves and our history and oh my gosh, but to do that through food as well. And that, well, we're gonna get on that. We're gonna get on that. But oh man. Okay, so then tell us what it was like then growing up, when you know kind of for yourself or that you're different than other kids. What would actually let me put it on this. What would your mom and would your parents tell us about a young Isa growing up?
Hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, I know that my parents have told me um, later on, not when I was a young kid, but they've told me later on, like, we knew that there was something different about you, which I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, but yeah, definitely different. Uh, yeah, I think I was thinking a lot. I was always quiet.
Mhm.
Um, Thinking about different things. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you into? So like, what did you know? What were you into that might have like they might not have been too happy about, or what
Oh my
before like you
gosh.
became, that might have been indicators maybe for like later on of becoming a chef. Like, what were you all about
Oh
growing up?
boy. Growing up.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, Whoa. Okay, so it was definitely a mix of still being an Asian kid. So I
Mhm.
had uh, the piano lessons, and I had the
Oh,
ballet lessons, and I had to get straight A's. And then when I was in junior high, I kind of started to rebel. You had to be one of the smart kids, and rebelling meant. I mean, I was pretty much wearing all black, and um, I remember being called a devil worshiper in junior high, and I mean, that's what kids do. Even kids now,
yeah.
they think they're being really scary or dangerous, and they're just
Mhm.
so cute, with their little spikes and their little. They're still kids,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I think that living here definitely afforded me the opportunity and luxury of choice.
Mhm.
So I went to film school. Um, and then after I graduated college, thinking I was going to go to law school, thinking, I changed my mind and I said, I really don't want to be in school anymore.
Yeah.
So then I started working in film.
Okay.
And then from working in film, then I started working in music. And then working in music, there honestly, there was no plan. There was sort of a plan, but every time I made a plan, it changed.
Okay.
And then the plan changed drastically when I was working in music, and then I became very sick. And I was out for a year, and I basically got pneumonia and endocarditis, which is, it's a very serious illness. And I recovered. And during that time, I decided that I wanted to cook because it was something that I just always loved to do.
Awesome.
So, and now 15 years later, it's, you know, you make that decision. You're like, okay, I'm in it now.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I saw my very first paycheck.
Yeah.
Going from working in entertainment, you know, the different industry, to working in the restaurant industry is very, very I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, well, this is my bed. I got to lay in it now. So
yeah. Well, I just want to say I'm so happy hearing you're still
that I'm alive.
Yeah, you know, like let's be honest, but you're finding yourself and you're happy and you're doing major things. So I just want to say that and thank you. Going back to, so then you kind of, you know, like you said, you thought about law, but then you music, and then you know, and then becoming a chef and everything. But one of the conversations, or one of the questions we always ask with some of our guests is, you know, as Filipino Americans, as you know, we as young adults and just having to live by that standard, or this model that they design, you know, like you said, you were put into ballet and dance lessons, and you know, piano lessons. How like we have to get straight A's. We have to be this model kid. We have to exceed all of our classmates because that's just what we are. And how we're kind of like, they want us to become a lawyer, a doctor, accountant, you know, the money making positions. So did they impress upon that as well? I would assume. And then, but then you figured out for yourself, like you said, you didn't exactly want to go that route. How was that imposed on you back then?
So back then it was, it wasn't so much, I want to say it wasn't so much a specific profession. It was more of this idea, go to college, you graduate and you get a job, and then you don't have to work anymore.
Okay.
You know, and then you can buy a car, you know, and then I think even one time my dad said something like, and then we'll go find a husband for you in the Philippines. And I just was like, is this real? Like, I don't even understand what this means. But what I found interesting was they really thought that once I graduated college that I wouldn't have to work anymore. Even while I was in college, I got a work study job to kind of just make some money. And they were so upset. They were like, what are you doing? You should be using that time to study. You shouldn't, you know, you don't need to work, you know. And I told them, I don't know how to work. You know, I don't know how to do this.
You didn't have like any jobs in high school?
No, they didn't let me. They, you know, it was like very sheltered, very, you know, school and home and, you know, extracurriculars. Yeah. So it was something that I recognized that I need to understand how this is done because, you know, it was too sheltered, I guess. So, they were really upset that that I had a job. And really it's only been in the last few years that I feel like they are proud of me. And it's kind of hard not to, well, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, I guess it's Filipino parents' bragging rights, you know, when they can have the newspaper, look, oh, my daughter's in this newspaper. Oh, look at this. And like, oh, you know, and you're still that little kid for them, you know, like, oh my gosh, how many family, like friend parties that you've been to and just like, oh, my daughter's going to sing next, or my son is going to, oh, he plays the violin. Go get your violin. He's going to play for us, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, that kind of thing, it never goes away. So now I have all those, I do have all of those newspapers, you know, and I do have awards and I, you know, and it's just like, okay, so, that's all it took for them to be proud of me, was to get those things, I guess. But yeah.
It's a different kind of love. I think, I feel you on that so deeply, because
Mm.
I still think I'm trying to win their love and everything. It's I think we as young Filipinos, our generation, we a lot of therapy helps.
Yes.
But yeah, just all these crazy goals that they have for us to just, I don't know, it's insane.
Mhm.
Anyway, but I'm right there with you, Isa. So I want to go then to, being that you got into becoming a chef, but and well, actually, you said you're like one of three other Filipinos in school. So with not so many Filipinos around you, how you said you got, actually, I'm sorry, I'm taking that, I'm remembering you just said you just now started learning more about yourself in the culture in 2016, right?
Mhm.
But
But
what
also in
aspects of our
college.
culture did you uh at least that your mom did within just your own household? Like, were you making the food back
Oh
then? Is that
boy.
what first started the love for Filipino food at all?
I do have memories as a very young kid, um, when we first moved here, and the memory is of my family and I sitting on the floor, and we had the food in pots in front of us and we were eating with our hands. And I was still very young. So mom would the rice and the ulam and put it in my mouth, that kind of thing. And looking back now, I realize, like, oh, that was when we moved into our first apartment. We didn't have any furniture. That's probably what it was. But they would cook Filipino food, and I would also, well, I started cooking very young, so I was watching a lot of cooking shows on PBS, and so I was just trying to cook all these other different foods. So there was a connection with food, but there was also a connection with Catholicism. So, very much going to catechism, communion, confirmation,
Yeah.
getting the gifts from, my titos and titas, them coming to see me at the church. And then also, I feel like an unsung hero in all of this, especially with food, is like the turo point places, because I've heard people say, like, oh, the food, it's not that great. You have to go to a family friend's house, and honestly, growing up, if I didn't have access to those, small mom and pop places, like Goldilocks, when it was just really this small little place and you would get your different foods, I would probably not have been exposed to all of the foods, because both of my parents worked, and their food is very specific, they're Ilocano. So there were foods that even when I got to college, when I was I was in Isang Bansa, which is the Filipino club at LMU. There were foods there that I did not even recognize as being Filipino, because there is different cultures. It's just like, what's that meat and potatoes dish? And they're like, oh, it's caldereta, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So it's a very, there were so many things to learn about, and get used to, and now I know a lot about it. So
Okay.
did
So
that
you
answer your
had,
question?
oh no, so I was just
Yeah.
curious to, like, the earlier connections before later on in life, where and then you would kind of take it as a career.
Mm,
Were there anything
mm.
outside of food, like traditions, that you kind of got into, that you learned, like tinkling? Did you
Oh, so yeah, during PCN, I wasn't any and part of any of the dancing suites, but the story was about my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran who was promised citizenship and then didn't receive
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
And that was like, looking back now, at that time, that legacy is almost all but disappeared, because those veterans, you know, they're dying, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was when I was first made aware, because you also don't learn about your history in school. At least I think now they are making a point to, I don't know what the kids are learning now in school, but I would hope that it's a more true way of telling what really happened. And so, oh gosh, I'm blanking. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's okay.
No worries. No worries. So
Edit. Like,
when you go off to college, and so obviously, like we were saying earlier, you know, your parents want you to do this, that, and you live through your parents, but then you rebel because that's not what you really want to do, and you wanted to find yourself. How was it then going off to college, and did that create a new awakening for you? And can you tell us a little bit about that experience of going to school and then, well, and as you said, I think earlier, that's where you really met more Filipinos, and you can, you know, then learn more about the culture.
Yeah.
How was that? And then also even just the greater, you know, world and what's going on, and how we're all very much alike, but then yet also very different, but then also celebrating that difference, and that, you know, the world is crazy, but we gotta you know, keep it going.
Yeah, I should say that when I was growing up, I was also told consistently that I was American. So it was never Filipino American.
Yeah.
It was always like, you're an American, we are American. And I think even now looking at, like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, with the political climate, especially with older generation Asian Americans, you do see that conservatism and being Republican, which, you know, the timing of it coincided with the Reagan years. So coming to a country and wanting to be accepted, you know, wanting to do well, wanting to thrive and prosper, and, you know, aligning yourself with that political party was very important, you know. But now, you know, my parents are both Republicans and I am not. And it's very, yeah. And it's just a very interesting, you know, especially last year, having conversations and not being, you know, just being upfront saying, Mom, you're racist. Just like, I don't know how else to tell you, Mom, you're racist.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so there's been a lot of, I think, things that the older generation have had to acknowledge. I mean, it's already hard enough that they have, you know, their kids probably doing all these things that they don't understand, having a completely different life, the set of rules and the set of expectations, right? It's completely different. And at the same time, you know, now I have my mom saying, I just want you to be happy. It's just like, what? Why couldn't you tell me this when I was a kid? You know, this is insane. Like, what was this shift of happiness over, you know, bars of gold? I mean, I don't know what, you know, because, I really feel like, you know, there are some people that came to this country before and they literally thought the streets were paved with gold and they wouldn't have to work, that they were just going to be fine. And I was like, dude, you don't understand what the life is like here in the US. You know, you really don't. You have to work really hard for whatever you have still. So
did that like wokeness, to use the current terminology, I guess, did you wake up to that as you kind of rebelled before like college, or did you like realize it when you were in college? Because for me, you know, my story, I was kind of under the same umbrella with like you had to be the good kid, get good grades and all this, and
Mm.
go to college to be a doctor, a lawyer, all that. And I wanted to be a
Mm.
creative and an artist. And then my
Mm.
parents were military, so I went the military route because that was the
Oh, wow.
safe route for them. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I only did about 4 years, and then I got into the arts afterwards. But
Mm.
you know, so I was already rebelling in high school, and realizing that, you know, yeah, Dad, you said some racist things, and yeah, so for me, it was just seeing that difference, and then also being a military kid, I really got to see Republican conservatism and Catholicism,
Mhm.
just all of this,
Mhm.
and just these labels that America puts onto us, and uh, yeah, but this ain't my story. This is your story. So, did you kind
Mm.
of see that growing up, or did you become more cognizant of it when you're in college?
No, I I have told this story before, but I remember when I was very young, probably I think I was 5 years old, and we were living in an apartment complex, and some of my neighbors, um, we met them, and there was a little black girl and her sister, little sister, and we would play sometimes. There was a like a communal playground area, right? Um, and we were little friends, that would play on the swings and just slide and make little mud balls and be kids. And then I remember telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, I want you to make my hair like Ebony's hair. The little girl's name was Ebony, and she had like the little barrettes, and she had the little braids and like everything. And I was like, I mean, I thought it was so pretty. And my mom just said to me, "You never say that. Never, never, never say that." Just and then I wasn't allowed to play with Ebony and her sister anymore. And I didn't understand, when you're a little kid like that, you just like you listen to your parents. You do what you're told. One, but I just thought, but her hair is pretty. Like I want to put little barrettes all in my hair too, and I didn't really think about that until many years later. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is that learned like racism that, you know, you to say how you're saying woke, right? It's kind of like you can be very insulated in your thinking because you're dealing with your own shit, right? But then you start realizing, oh, wait, my sister is a darker complexion than me, right? But they were always saying that I was pretty and not her. Things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Or, so it's just kind of like you start seeing these little cues,
yeah.
and then you realize, oh, it's not just the kind of idea of racism or prejudice. It's like there are all these words to
Hmm.
describe and define all of that kind of, what if you want to call it that idea of hierarchy or,
Yeah.
um, I mean, okay, like when I say hierarchy, when, the whole topic of like cultural appropriation,
Hmm.
right? There's something inherently, prejudice in that because it's about, superior culture that's taking from an inferior culture. And it's
Hmm.
just like, well, who's to say that this culture is superior to
Yeah,
this one?
exactly.
It's like, oh, okay. Like, so it's a very interesting way to think about those things. And yeah, I always knew that exchange just felt wrong, but I didn't understand why until many, many years later. So
Mm.
yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to play,
Yeah, yeah,
I just wanted to be pretty like Ebony. So
yeah. Mm.
whoa, like,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know how
mhm,
difficult that be, but I think it's very important as well for everybody listening to this. And that's what part of this show is to identify that, because you're not alone. And that's why I think it's so key to talk about it, is to show that you're not alone. I've gone through it, you've gone through it, and I know somebody who's watching this is going through it right now. And hopefully they can get strength from this conversation, that there's so much more. And if you're going through it right now, there's gonna be there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh boy. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got more stories, but I don't know, like, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just like, now I'm starting to remember more things. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. It was.
We can do more therapy sessions.
Yeah.
Girl, this is therapy for me. Let me tell you, that's why, and I hope you're feeling this as well, because sometimes to get it off your chest, it helps. And to just get that vibe. And I really appreciate you sharing that. So thank you. So college, we what was the first major before music? And then
no, it
film.
was
You're acting.
it was film
school.
Well, film production.
Okay.
Film writing, and then
what made you want to get into film production? Why film production?
Like I can't. Okay, how I've been told I was that kind of weird kid. So I would always watch films as a kid. You know, I mean, yes, I was watching cartoons and things like that too, but I was always interested in foreign films, watching people speak other languages, reading the subtitles, and just that idea of storytelling. I loved it. So then, at the time, I just had a real love of film and that medium and what it brought to the visual storytelling of the culture and the time and place and the reason why that film was being made, and the craft behind it. So I went to film school, and then I think halfway through I did feel kind of dumb, because it's like when you're growing up and you're very academic, it's just like, wow, all I do is watch films all day and discuss and read, and this is cool, but I don't feel like I'm necessarily learning anything. So then I added a second major, and that was where the philosophy came in, and that was supposed to be an introduction into law school.
Okay.
And so I studied. And I mean, I loved it. And then
did you want to like tell stories at one point? Like, was there like a entertainment person inside you at that moment that wanted to use this medium of film to tell this unwritten or unshown story that you hadn't seen by watching films, that, yes, I wanted to create the next great American tale or whatever?
I think that any young film student feels that way. They're like, I want to be a director, I want to write, and I have these images in my head that I need to make them real. I need to make them, and, looking back now, me trying to do that and me trying to write, compared to what I've accomplished in working with food, for me, food is still storytelling. So, I would never say that I was a writer, even though I do love to write, only because I know how disciplined and how, persistent I worked at a craft of being a cook and chef. That, that was the true path for me, because I know people who are writers who write every day and they throw it away and then they write again, and then it's that kind of thing that you are what you do. So that was the start into probably dipping my toe into the idea of storytelling, and me loving filmmaking and the medium of films, which then went into telling the story of, what this plate of food means to me, or to this group of people, or the story behind this dish, or that it was created because at this time in history there was a shortage of bread, or everything from the political aspects of like this political party was in charge, and they were embargoed by this other country, and so this is what the people had to eat. It's like there are so many things that if you eat something and you just think it's nourishment, it's so much more. So
Awesome. I can't wait to get to that point. So actually, so yeah, film school, then you thought about law school, and then you had gotten sick for a while. It was, and if I'm recounting the history thus far, right? But
yeah.
and then you found that you wanted to get into food.
Mm.
And what was that like? What's what was like the first step in that transition for you?
The first step was healing.
Yeah.
So I had to heal my body,
Yeah.
because I was just in bed. I lost 20% I lost lung tissue, I lost muscle, I couldn't walk a few feet without losing my breath. I was susceptible to infection because I was on so many medications. So it was really about me just trying to be normal again, be healthy. And then I went to cooking school, which for me was the right choice. Now, if somebody were to say like, oh, should I go to cooking school? I would probably say, no, don't go to cooking school. You can just learn. Like you can apprentice, you can stage at a restaurant, and you can learn more doing that than having to, pay upwards of 50 grand for a program. Especially when once you get out, you're probably only going to be making, less than minimum wage. But for me, it was the right move because I do like a classroom setting. And then from there, I started working in restaurants, and, I didn't quit, and I tried to work in the best places I could.
Yeah.
And there are people that I worked with years ago that have also moved up and, own their own businesses, become chefs, doing their thing. But I also remember those people who stopped, who like either, oh, I'm not going to be a cook anymore, I'm getting married, or, oh, I'm going into real estate now, or, oh, I've decided this is not for me. Or I'm like, wow, I'm like, okay, it's your choice, but really it's very hard to be a cook. It's very hard financially to be able to make a living. That's what not a lot of people understand.
Yeah.
So to stick with it, and to keep working even now with the pandemic of, I can't even imagine being a young cook right now because the restaurants are so slim, or, they've gone to a skeleton crew. It's not the environment to mentor, right? Because it's about trying to keep that business alive, right? Which also then influences the kind of menus you're able to do. It's like you might, fine dining. I mean, how do you do that still? Am I really going to be able to charge $100 for something in this takeout box? There are people who are able to do it, but the majority, have pivoted to something, more stable and a business model that's like more approachable. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we still want to keep doing what we love.
Yeah.
So
what do you think is the most important lesson you learned as a chef at that time?
at which time exactly?
After cooking school, because you said you had your thoughts about cooking school, probably you don't need to do it, but what would you say outside of that? What was the most important lesson you learned post cooking school that you still take with you? And you'd suggest to a young cook or chef?
I did have a plan And my plan was, I did set myself time, like a time schedule. And one, I knew that I had to stick with it. That was the first thing.
Okay.
Two, I had to give myself time and really learn the craft. So, not just approaching it as a job, but the reason why I decided to work in this kitchen is because I want to learn this specific thing at this restaurant.
Yeah.
So working at a seafood restaurant, I was able to learn how to butcher fish, learn how to cook fish. Working in an Italian restaurant, I learned how to make pasta and cook pasta. When I switched to pastry, I learned how to bake bread and make ice cream, so it was never a specific chef that I had in mind, but I looked at the restaurants that were here in LA and I was like, okay, these are the best places to learn these skills. And that's where I want to go. So, and I have told young cooks, like, don't go into it blindly. Don't just think, well, I'm going to work at this place, because it looks good on, it's like you have to learn because once you move to another kitchen, it doesn't matter how much ass you've kissed in that kitchen. If you don't know how to do what your resume says, you're going to get fired. And not only that, the chefs all talk to each other. So they're going to call up and say like, oh, this kid said he worked for you. Can you recommend them? I mean, I've seen it in every kitchen. There's that phone call and they're like, nope, watch out for this one. Yeah. No, we fired them. Yeah. Don't good luck. Just so basically you can't fake it. It's a real proving ground. It's don't do it unless you're going to really do it with your whole heart and your whole body and your head and with everything you have. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You will be found out. And people will hate your guts, and they won't want to work with you. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, let's flip it back to some positive vibes. Let's talk about things we love about what we do in our profession. And so what would be, what were some of the favorite aspects of learning is there, I definitely want to get into the Filipino cuisine and like how you've kind of taken the journey with history and telling that. But outside of Filipino cuisine, well, let's start with that because there's definitely the love for that I have. But what are some other cuisines that you enjoy making that you, as you were learning and going through the process of your education?
Oh boy. Oh geez. I mean, I've cooked a lot of different foods, especially when you're working, if you're working in a fine dining restaurant, they draw from many different cultures, and you have access to like the best ingredients. Like there were times, just receiving the fresh produce from the farmer's market of, the very best of stone fruit, or being able to receive fresh oysters, and you have to taste them to make sure that they're okay. You look at them, and you like just being able to see these products firsthand and learning and understanding what makes them taste so good and why they are so good. And then taking those and using the technique that you've learned to cook them in such a way where like, wow, this tastes exactly how it's supposed to taste, but it's cooked. Or, I think, yes, we can break it down into kinds of foods, but for me, it's also the kinds of techniques. So, I mean, I've been lucky. Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky to work in both savory and sweet.
Yeah.
And I love both. Yeah. I do. I love, I love making desserts just as much as I love making savory dishes. It's just a different way of working. And I mean, I still do it now, you know, with I do consulting, and that's been my mainstay. Aside from doing all of the events that you'll see on my Instagram, which are like, my pride and joy of being able to connect with my culture. I'm very much a working chef still. So, and luckily I have that skill set to fall back on, because we do have to take care of ourselves. We have to have money in the bank to just provide and have a livelihood and make a living. So
what would you describe in one word, the process of making the food and the process of seeing, well, not the process of making the food, and then the reaction of someone sampling that, taking the taste of that dish that you made?
So on
one
my
word to
end,
describe the process, like an adjective to describe the process.
Bliss.
Okay.
Yes.
And then seeing someone taste your dish.
Oh no, the same. It's for the same answer for both. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Bliss.
Love
because the process of creating, especially when you get to a point of, you're a novice first, and then, you start getting pretty good at what you do. And then you enter into a point in your life where you have that level of expertise, because you have the experience and you can just kind of create. And I am, and I can say that I am in that point of my life where if I have an idea, I'll try it out and I'll know, okay, this is what will take it to the next level. And then I'll do another test and then it'll be there. Yeah. But at the same time, it's just like, it's an evolving thing, right? So you just, it's years of building that confidence, and I'm sure, with your field too, you know what you were like when you were first starting out, and now you have honed that vision that you have of what you want to create, and that style. So that is very much what you learn hands-on. And yeah, I mean, it's just a joy. It's just a joy. And to know, like, I know this is going to be good, or like, and then you do see and then the eyes roll back and and then just like, yes, because all chefs, all cooks, we're all givers. We want to share. We want to give people, make them food. We want to give them an experience. So that's that's why I say bliss.
Excellent. I love it. Excellent. So let's talk about then, so the transition from like being a regular daily chef to now where you're at now and getting into Filipino cuisine and now and being kind of like that tastemaker and diving into the history. What was it finally that you decided to do that and get into showcasing that?
I was working pretty hard in restaurants and I was burned out, and I left restaurant work. And that was 2016. And then I had a friend who told me that she was going with a group and they were going to visit the Philippines. And I was like, whoa. And she was like, you should come. It'll be fun. And I thought, wow. Okay. And it was already that it was stressful. Like I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, like and there was this, like, I don't know, but I was scared, the idea of going there. Yeah. And I had to kind of just like relax and just be like, okay. Cause it was like confronting a part of myself that was not given to me when I was growing up, Yeah. And even, when I came back from that trip, I kind of had a conversation with my mom, like, why didn't you teach me anything about this, and as far as communication, it kind of came out as like, because we wanted you to, you know, be accepted, you know, so it's just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, being there, and that trip really got me into rediscovering the flavors that I had had growing up from those turo point, you know, point places, and then just going to the Filipino parties. But then also, because I was doing pastry, you know, just the classic desserts that aligned with my classic aesthetic tastes in making desserts, because that is what I learned when I learned pastry. So just classically French, fine dining. There aren't a lot of places that make desserts like that anymore, because it was a different time. So everything from making, you know, having individual molds for cakes, and doing sugar work, and having like, you know, plating, and having these little like drops of this, and then a tear of this, and then a spray of this. Taking all of that, you know, that knowledge and experience, and then just kind of like looking at these classic Filipino desserts, and then saying like, hey, people don't know about these. Like, I know about them, but some people don't. Or, hey, this thing that I'm tasting is kind of like something I've made before. So if I apply this technique to this idea, then I can create this thing. So it really started out as me just, you know, exploring those ideas, and then creating these desserts, which turned into pop-ups, which turned into, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of, you know, just having people try my food, to being on documentaries, to podcasts, to being, you know, judges on, you know, shows, to, I mean, there's just been so much. And while it first started as, yes, an introduction to Filipino food, then people started wanting to, you know, talk to me like, who are you? What is this person doing? You know, and because I'm such a ham, because I'm so maarte, right? You know, I was just like, yeah, let's talk about me, you know. So, but again, you know, I feel like I have good things to say, you know.
Yeah.
It's been a treat, but it was also an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, because I knew that I had something important to say,
Yeah.
you know, just being who I am, you know. And it was, you know, that those were the questions that for a very, very long time, people weren't asking, people weren't wanting to talk to someone like me.
Yeah.
And then they started wanting to. So I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, let's talk.
Yeah.
This is what this is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love it. That's awesome. So you've kind of like found yourself by doing this, you know? And I don't know about you, but as I've learned about more of my Philippine culture, and that's the journey I'm doing with ShoPowSho as well, is, you know, you and I both, we rebelled because, you know, we thought, or at least I'll speak for myself, you know, Filipino was very Catholic and rigid, and I had to be this and the third, and was very trying to assimilate to American culture. And most of the Filipino Americans around were doing that. So it's kind of like, man, it kind of sucks to be so, because we have to be super Catholic, super American, and just all these values that just wasn't me. But then as I discovered my Philippine background, and like, man, we killed Magellan when he tried to bring his colonizer ass to the Philippines. Just, we have 500 years of history of resistance and rebelling against oppressive, you know, these forces, and you know, just it's so amazing. And like, that's as a filmmaker, that's kind of like the stories that I want to bring to the fold, to just show, you know, that there may be this conservative, very large amount of religious, you know, very old conservative Pinoys that are still around, and we love them to death. And, you know, they just got assimilated. They got the colonizer mindset, but we have this prehistory that's just so amazing. And then throughout this stuff of resistance fighters and everything, that it's just so beautiful, and our food is beautiful, and it shows, and our sense of community. And I've loved my people, and I just love myself even more. And I'm curious if again with you and how it's blown up, the support, I'm sure, because they're seeing you're tasting your food, they're seeing the beauty within that. Has it been the same case for you?
Yes. No. When, like, how do I put this? I did not intend to be, I mean, I can't even say it, to be this force, in all of this. I was always just like, I have these ideas, I'm just trying to do my best, and I think it was that point of opportunity meets preparation, where I was at the right place at the right time, and I ran with it. That that I've gotten the opportunity to work with so many different groups or projects, which all brought together like-minded people that they wanted to uplift Asian American, Pacific Islander culture, or specifically Filipino culture, or Southeast Asian, or whether it be women of color or just women. Just everyone wanting to share this message or just come together to work together. That has been so important. And when the Filipino community reached out to me, I've done a lot of work with SIPA. I've also done some work with KMBLA, with Sunday Jump here. It's like, honestly, I did feel like an outsider, because it's just like, wow, historic Filipino town here, generations and generations of this Filipino community living in this spot, and then meeting them, and then the welcomeness, and then telling me, we are your familia. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how to react to this. This is like, everyone is, just like, whatever you need. And you're like, this is the part of our culture. And then I'm thinking, like, I didn't know that was part of our culture, because growing up, honestly, it was not welcoming. I felt my family was insulated. I felt like everyone was looking out for each other, and, you talk about the chismis and the crab mentality. And like, I think that's a part of every culture, but you can sit there and criticize all day. Fine. You can do that over there, right? Because now we have, again, the younger generation coming together, and, I'm going to scream ube at the top of my lungs. And you know what? Why not? Again, you can sit there and criticize all day and say, like, oh, because you hear it. You cannot hear it, but it's like, you don't understand the point. This is something that we can own now, which is our food, our culture. We don't have to necessarily change it to suit the tastes of others, even though maybe, and probably we have, but now we can go out and say, like, eat this balut, I don't care. Hey, oh, you like it. Yeah. And now you know what it is, or, the chocolate meat, which, yeah, you just say, like, this is, a stew made of pig's blood, and, people just, I really don't want to dumb down things for people. It's just kind of like, how strong you have to be to want to eat this blood? Because I know you have to be fucking strong. So either taste it with me, or, go and eat some Wonder Bread. I don't know. Oh, well, that's not bad either. And, it's like, hey, I grew up eating Wonder Bread, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Like, we're going through, I feel like in a way we're going through a renaissance right now. Of us, our generation now, taking the reins and the control, and you know, if you still feel that way, you can feel that way, but we're moving on, we're proud of ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think it's so amazing what you're doing, Isa, and I think it's beautiful. And are we gonna get a cookbook at all?
Oh
Maybe,
boy. You know what?
because I would love to see that, you know, the food and then the history.
You know what? Okay. So this is going to get deep. This is going to get deep right here.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
this is something that I'm actually struggling with right now.
Oh,
So this
okay.
is very personal. So I was approached to do a cookbook by an agent. This was a few years ago. And I tried to start writing something. And in that process of trying to write, I became overwhelmed with paradigms and structure, but then also the idea of, and it's weird to say, but I think you'll understand. It's just like that idea of like, wait, I'm not Filipino enough to write this book.
Oh,
You know, like,
yes.
wait, everybody sees me as this expert on Filipino desserts. And first off, I would never say that. I would never say that. No.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, maybe like when I'm like 95 years old and I've already come out with the cookbooks, you know, maybe I could say, but, you know, my experience as a Filipino American versus somebody growing up in the Philippines, where I've heard the stories of, oh yes, my Lola would come and bring the pandesal in the bag, and they would still be warm, and we would eat it. And then we had the Carabao milk, you know, and it's just like, that is something beyond me. I do not have that experience, you know? So the idea of a cookbook for me, I'm not able to grasp that idea, because at the same time, I almost feel like it'll be more of like a food history book,
Yeah.
not a recipe book.
Yeah.
And there is a trend of cookbooks becoming more like memoirs.
Yeah.
So I'm not counting it out, but at this time, with everything that I'm doing, I hope that there comes a point where I've reconciled myself and I can be comfortable enough to tell the story of what this food has meant to me. But I also feel like I'm still learning about this experience.
Okay.
So it's hard, you know, it is hard. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. I completely understand that and feel in every way the feeling that you're fake and you're not the 100% Filipino, and being I'm a mixed kid, and I have so much love for my people. And as I've been doing this and learning about my history, wanting to tell our tales on the screen, but then not feeling Filipino enough that I can tell that tale, you know, and who am I to tell that? But then what I remind myself, and what my friends and Kabayan tell me is like, if you don't tell it, then who else is going to tell it?
Yeah.
You know, and they're not doing the same work. They're not putting in the hours. They're not doing the grind of studying and learning as much as you are. So if not you, then who? So that's what I remind myself. And I would say that as well to you. You're putting in the work. You're learning all about that. And if you do it, Isa, I would love it. If you don't, I still love what you're doing regardless. But yeah, we use our voice when we're ready, and I completely understand.
Yeah.
And I'm going through it as well, so I understand. Yes. So I feel like we're going up and down in ranges of emotions. I've cried a lot.
This is what it means to be Filipino.
You know, exactly.
Struggle of like, what am I? Who am I? Where am I? Yeah.
Yes. So we're not going to cry on today, but
No.
I really thank you for sharing and opening up your heart and telling your story and helping us inspire through this episode to, you know, that can relate with what you went through and what they're going through right now. I'm sure it's going to mean a lot to our viewers checking this out. Isa, I want more City of Ghosts. I know you don't know if there's going to be a season 2, but you know, Chef Joe is amazing and so cute. That is an amazing honor to be featured on that. And are there any other projects, things that we can look forward to on the horizon?
Okay, so I do get asked this a lot. And as I will say, just like City of Ghosts, I signed an NDA. So there are things that I cannot discuss. But, you know, when it drops, it's going to be hot.
All right.
That's what. And one more thing. Just, I actually pronounced my name Isa.
Oh my God. Did you allow me to say your name
I
wrong?
did. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get him at the end. I'm gonna get him at the end. Yeah. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. So Isa?
Yeah. Isa. You're not the first one. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
I
winked.
You waited till the very end.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
Isa.
Memorable that way.
Isa, you are absolutely amazing. And I apologize and I thank you for everything we've discussed. And but I have a couple more things before I let you go.
Oh yeah.
What we do right before we sign off is we are the Nerds of Color. So we got to do a nerd check.
Oh my gosh.
To give a TED talk on something you're very nerdy about. It doesn't have to be the true sense of nerd, like gaming or comic books or whatever, unless it is. But what is something you could give a TED style talk on?
Oh my God.
That somebody doesn't know, that people don't know about.
Yes.
And it can't be cooking. We're not going to do cooking.
No.
We're not going to do
Oh
film.
God. You don't even. Okay, so like I watched the intro to your show and I saw your collection. I have my own kinds of collections.
Okay.
All right. I wish like maybe I can go get some of my little things to just show you on screen. But I could give a TED talk on how to maximize your RPG builds for if you're a mage, rogue, or warrior class.
Stop.
I could give you yeah.
So you're a D&D person?
Okay. So it's okay. I really love video games, but I don't let myself play anymore because it was all, it's a great stress relief.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But I don't let myself do it anymore. So now I'll watch walkthroughs on YouTube.
I love it.
And I'm mesmerized. And it's just like, that's all I will allow myself because I don't even have a system. The last time I played was years ago, but but like, I'm
so you're
feeling
an
that
gamer, like Magic the Gathering, World of Warcraft?
No. Not so much that. But it's like, see, it's like you have gamer and then, you have people that are like all into, they're all into Game of Thrones. And I'm just like, dude, you could be Game of Thrones, like, so don't, like, you're so into this, but don't you understand you can play this game and live it instead of just watch it, okay, I can't. So you have to, I'm getting too excited talking about it.
I guess I won't tell you. We recently, with some of our past guests, we brought together some of our past guests to do a ShoPowSho D&D night, and which we're going to be posting on our Patreon. And there's plans to do it again. So, I think I shouldn't give you the call when we do that.
Oh boy.
Because that might be too much.
Yeah. I tell people it's a gateway. Yeah. Just one Girl Scout cookie each day.
Yeah.
I'm very good about that too.
Okay.
So, but.
All right. Yeah. I won't give you the call because it'll be too much for you.
Okay. Yeah. You will melt my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Isa. Oh, Isa. Oh, Isa. Isa.
Yes. No.
Isa, I'm gonna have the information in the description below, but right before we go, if you could tell everybody how they can reach out to you online, besides IsaFabro.com. What are like your Twitter handles or anything if you want to pass that out?
So I am Chef Isa Fabro of IsaMADE, which is my company. And you can find me, yes, at isafabro.com. Also my Instagram, which is at IsaFabro. I do not have Twitter because that's another gateway to wasting time. But that's where you'll mainly find me, or on Netflix, or in Washington Post, or in New York Times, or Los Angeles Times, or in Sunset Magazine, or on KCRW Good Food, or on KCET, PBS. Am I missing anything?
Stunt on them, Isa. Stunt on them.
Like, just Google me. Google my name, and it'll all scroll.
There you go. She's blown up, y'all.
Yeah.
So I'm so honored to have you on, Isa Fabro. You are amazing. I'm not gonna live this down. I'm gonna mess with you again next time I see you. If hopefully, I definitely, yeah. When the NDA project that you signed, when you can talk about it when it's over, I would love to have you back and we can talk all about that. But thank you so much for your time, your energy, your stories, your vibe, your soul. Just truly enjoyed this. Really appreciate you coming on. Everybody, check out City of Ghosts on Netflix. Make sure you check out isafabro.com, all of that. I am Kuya P. You can follow me at Strange Since 1977 and at Temple Far East, as well as at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. And of course, at the Nerds of Color, the home to ShoPowSho. Make sure you follow ShoPowSho on all your Twitter, IGs, all of that, as well as the Nerds of Color, www.thenerdofcolor.org, all of that. Salamat. Mahal kita. We love y'all. Isa, Kuya P, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Boom.
Bye-bye.
So we